guys, ToughHD here and welcome back to another video. And I finally got the second GTX 760. It's finally arrived. It came in a shoebox. I thought someone had sent me shoes by mistake, but no, this card was inside, and unlike the first one I got, this one was actually shipped very nicely in an anti-static bag and surrounded in those air cushion biodegradable plastic things. So it was very nice to see that he actually packed this one properly. It was probably because he didn't want it to get broken in shipping, maybe like the other one did, but oh well. Let's forget about that. I suppose I'll have to buy new fans for that, but that's not too much of a big deal. But here we are. This is the second one. It seems to be in pretty decent condition, and the best part about it is all three fans actually spin. It's a bit dirty, there's some sticky on it, but for now I'm not too bothered. All I want to do is get it in the computer and see if it actually works. I've got my SLI bridge, so there's not really much else to do. One thing that I do want to mention is the PCB on this one looks a little bit different. So I'm assuming that this might be a different revision. I'm not too sure, but the seller said that he did have them both working in his Mac Pro together, and now for better or for worse I'm going to believe him and assume that they did work together. So yeah, there's not really much else to do. I've removed the expansion slot covers in the computer, and I think it's time to put this thing in. Okay, we are now on the floor. Sorry for this bad angle and probably terrible lighting, but this computer is just too heavy to get up on my desk, and because it's on wheels it would probably roll off anyway because my desks are a little bit wonky. But anyway, I've got the card here. I've decided I'm going to put it in the blue X16 slot, so there's a little bit of a gap between the two cards. And I'm assuming that the two blue slots are the ones that are meant to be used for dual graphics card systems. I've removed the correct expansion covers, and I guess now all I have to do is try and slide it in without breaking anything. So I'm going to try and get positioned here and then just go and slide it in. There we go. I think it's in. So I'm going to get the screws and screw it in, and then I guess we can turn it on once I've put the SLI bridge in and then see if it actually works. I'm hoping that it does. It's dusty, so I'll probably clean it at a later date, but for now I just want to know if this thing works. I've been waiting long enough, and yeah, I'm fed up of just having an empty space in this computer. I want it to be filled, and I think that this will be a pretty cool system with two cards in it. Now, I don't like putting these expansion core screws in. I find them really awkward, so I'm not going to film this. Okay, there we are. I've got the screws in. It was slightly easier than I thought, but now we can put the SLI bridge on. Now, which way up do we want it? Do we want it like that or like that? Now, I think SLI at the top looks cooler, so that's the way I'm going to do it. I don't really think it matters which way, so hopefully it works like this. So let's just attach it onto the top card and then onto the bottom, and the SLI bridge is indeed long enough. We've got a nice little curve in it there. I quite like the look of that. And now we've got to put the power cables in. Now, I think in the build video where I just had the one card, I complained about the bulge with the cable when it's like that, so I was thinking maybe have the top connector for the top card and the one underneath the bottom card. I'm not sure if that's really recommended, sharing a cable between two cards, so I think for now I'm going to do it with one cable per card just to be safe. Then maybe do a bit of research on that at a later date, but I think for now it should be fine anyway. With the side panel on, I don't really think we'll be able to tell. So let's plug in the top card's power first. It takes an 8 and a 6. There we go. And the second cable's just chilling down here. Let's do the 8 first. We need to line the bits up. They're very awkward, these connectors, the ones that split off. I can never get them to go together properly. But it's not really the sort of thing that you should be taking in and out very often anyway, so I don't suppose it's really that much of a problem, but I've just dropped it. Oh dear. Okay, there we go. I've got the connectors in, and to be honest, they look a little bit stupid. The cables were bent in a weird way, probably from the way that this power supply was used in the previous owner's case. So maybe I'll get some extension cables for them at some point which will look neater, but for now I really don't think it matters. As long as both the cards work, I'm not going to complain. And the side panel, I think, covers most of this up anyway because there's a big fan on it. So yeah, I'm going to plug the computer in now and let's see if it works. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is plug in the power. Everything else is plugged into the monitor on my desk, so let's just put this in, flick the switch on the back, there we go, and now let's turn it on. Now I'm going to check if the fans are spinning on the bottom card. I could spin them with my hands, and it looks like they are all indeed spinning, and we are getting a signal on the monitor. That's of course from the top card. I've not plugged anything into the bottom one. So let's now look at the monitor. Ah yes, configuring Windows Update. I forgot that when I had this on earlier I did an update. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now that the computer's come on is go into Task Manager and just see if it recognises that there are two graphics cards in performance. There we go, GPU 0 and GPU 1. Now I don't know which is which and which one my monitor is connected over, but that isn't a problem. Let's now go into the NVIDIA control panel over here, and we now see a configure SLI option. Now that wasn't there before, of course, because I only had one card. So this so far is showing to me that both the cards are working and the SLI bridge is working too. So let's click on that. And now what can we do in here? Okay, so it looks like it's already set up SLI because there's a disable button here. So yeah, I think it's already enabled. It's telling me that GTX 761, which of course is the top card, is the one that's displaying my monitor over HDMI. So this is saying 1 and 2, while Windows says 0 and 1, so I'm assuming 0 is the equivalent to 1, and then here 2 is equivalent to, I don't know. I'll try and get my head around that, but it does seem to have already configured itself to maximise 3D performance, so that is very nice. It seems to have worked, and I'm not seeing any artifacting on the screen. Everything seems to be running fine within Windows. I'm going to install 3D Mark, and then we'll do one of the benchmarks. We'll do it with SLI configured and one without, and just see if there is any performance difference. I'm not really sure. I've not really tested this. I'm not bothered either way. This is just a bit of fun, and I wanted to have two cards in a system. So either way, I'll be happy with the result. Okay, so while waiting for 3D Mark to download, I was just looking at the temperature of the graphics card, and the graphics card at the top, so the one in the top slot is the one with the cursor next to it. That is currently running at 34 degrees Celsius, while the second one is at 29. So I've been monitoring this for a few minutes. It seems to be on average running 5 degrees hotter than the one with all 3 fans working. So of course I will have to get new fans for that, but for this test, when 3D Mark is running, I'm going to have this fan just blowing out the 2 cards. It'll make it quite loud in here, but hopefully it will keep both the cards cool enough. Okay, so 3D Mark is now open and it is ready to benchmark using Time Spy. Now, I have disabled SLI to start with, so we're going to do one run with SLI disabled and then a second run with it enabled to see if we do get any performance differences. Let's run this now. Okay, so first impressions of this, it's running at a very low frame rate, but I guess the purpose of this benchmark is to really test the hardware to its limits, so I'm really not too surprised. Of course, in 2020 I don't think any games could be run on these settings on this card, so really this is not too much of a surprise, but it's definitely not running very well. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see that at the bottom of the screen because of the exposure, but we're getting about 10 frames per second on average. That's probably about right for one of these cards, but I've not actually looked before. So it'll be interesting to see if having a second one in SLI will actually make any difference. But I think I'm actually going to cut the video here and then just come back at the end with the results. So Time Spy has now finished and we got a total of 1,754. However, we do have a validation warning saying the graphics driver is not approved. It's on the latest possible version, so there's not really much I can do about that. As long as the same driver is used in both tests I'm doing, I don't really see there being a problem. So if we have a look, our graphics score was 1,635. Graphics test 1, 10.84 frames. Graphics test 2, 9.28. So of course, in terms of modern hardware, that would be an absolutely terrible score. But this is older hardware, and to be honest, for the settings that were used for that benchmark, I'm not too surprised about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screenshot these results and then I'll enable SLI and I will run the benchmark again. I'll film a little bit of it to see if there's a noticeable increase in the performance, but then I'll just come back at the end and show you the results. Well, I just started the test and now the screen's gone black and an error occurred. What's going on here? We just got a valid score of 0 apparently. Let's try that again. I'm getting some strange artifacting going on the screen there. Let's try it again. I'm not too sure what this is about. Okay, so we're getting flickering and then it goes normal for a little bit and then a little bit more flickering. It looks like it's maybe, it's gone black again. Okay, well this isn't very good. Flash. I've still got control of the cursor. It says it's loading graphics test 1, but it doesn't, I don't think that this is very good. So I'm just going to Alt F4. That doesn't seem to be doing anything. Can we Control Alt Delete? We can Control Alt Delete. Let's open Task Manager. Right, it seems to have gone back to normal now. We've closed 3D Mark. Let's check again in the NVIDIA settings. So SLI is on Maximize 3D Performance. Everything is how it was. Let's try it again, but that did not seem very good. I think I'm going to try and run a different benchmark just to make sure it's working. Now of course we can't compare that to the single GPU results, but this is just to test that it's working properly. I don't even know if 3D Mark works properly with SLI. I don't know, I just wanted to try it. It's recommending Night Raid, so let's just try this and see if it can run this in SLI, but I'm honestly not too sure if this will work or not. Yet again we've got flickering and then the screen goes black. Very interesting. Okay, so it's now the next day and I've done a bit of research and it turns out that 3D Mark, when in full screen mode using SLI, can do those flickery things. And I also installed Heaven benchmark as well, and that did exactly the same, and it just ended up crashing. So I found out that if you run them not in full screen mode but instead in windowed mode, that won't be the case and it will run just fine. Now unfortunately, because I've just got the trial of 3D Mark, I cannot make it run in windowed mode. So for now, we are going to have to ignore that benchmark. But I did get Heaven to work in windowed mode, and I have the results. So for one GPU, our average FPS was 64.6 and our score was 1626. minimum frames per second 27.8, maximum 135.2. That was of course Windows in 1080p quality high. And then for the SLI one, take a look at that. Our average FPS was 104.3 and our score was 2626. So let's open both of those up together. One GPU on the left, two GPUs on the right. Just look at the difference there. They were both running with exactly the same settings, just one of them has SLI enabled, and this is clearly one of the pieces of software where SLI does make a difference. Now of course this is a synthetic benchmark, so real world will of course be different, and of course not a lot of games support SLI these days anyway, but this was just a bit of fun, and it's cool to see that adding the second card has made a performance difference. And when I was watching the benchmarks take place, I could definitely tell that there was a difference in performance. So yeah, I'm very happy with this, and both the graphics cards didn't get too hot. Even the one with only one working fan, it was only a couple of degrees hotter than the working one, even when under load. So I was quite impressed with that. I did put the big fan next to it anyway, just to help it along, and I think that probably did help it. But yeah, I am very happy with this result. As you can see, there are both the cards in there, looking very nice indeed. I did swap them around as part of some troubleshooting, so the broken fan one is now at the bottom and the fully working one is at the top. So yeah, this is a very good result, and we did indeed see a performance change, and it was a change that was definitely a good improvement. So I think that that is it for this video. Probably the next time you see this computer, we'll be putting some new fans into it and adding some 5¼ inch expansion things into the front bays. Probably a fan controller and maybe an optical drive or something like that. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it was interesting in some way, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.